Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's Super Mario Land 2, the 6 Golden Coins, the DX version. This is a ROM hack that was recently put up on romhacking.net from a ROM hacker named Toraz, and basically what it is a colorized version of Super Mario Land 2, as you would have seen on the Nintendo Game Boy Color like they did with Link's Awakening DX. And as you can see, Luigi is also a playable character now. And this is really kind of the big reason why I wanted to try out this ROM hack, was the colorization was cool, but playing as Luigi also adds a little bit, and he does control differently. He has different physics than Mario, so he ends up jumping higher, and this leads to a couple of fun gameplay elements, basically, that we're able to kind of take some shortcuts and get over some larger jumps, because we're playing as Luigi. You can switch between Mario and Luigi at the map screen, or before you even enter the pipe at the beginning, as you saw. You just have to use the select button to do so. For this run, I will be getting all 31 of the goals at the end of each one of the levels, and unlocking the hidden secret levels as well as we go. One of the cool aspects about Super Mario Land 2 that I always loved was the fact that the game was pretty much non-linear. There's only that level at the very beginning that you have to beat, and then the one at the very end where you face off against Wario in his castle. The rest you can kind of do in whatever order that you want to. You can go whichever land, and as long as you get all the 6 golden coins, it doesn't matter what order you completed them in. Now, we're going to start off on the left side, work our way up the island, and then down the right side, coming back around and getting back to Wario's castle. It's been a long time since I had actually done my original Super Mario Land 2 Play It Through, so when I saw this came out, I thought it was a good opportunity to finally revisit this game, with it at least being a little bit different than that old video I did so many years ago. At the end of most stages, you'll have a bell that's above the exit door. If you're able to hit that bell, you'll get rewarded with one of the minigames. There's 2 minigames you can compete in, and both can reward you with an extra life and a few power-ups. The first one is the one with the mice that you can see. There's the electric current that will go through all the lines, and whichever one of the items it ends up at is the one you end up getting. The other is the claw machine that I will also show off one time before we end up kind of skipping the rest of the bonus games, with the exception of one go at the slot machine near the end of the game. Another thing that was kind of cool about the game is you actually can use the coins you gather in order to get yourself some bonus lives or power-ups by spending it at a slot machine that's located just above the beginning of the game. There's multiple pipes that each have an increased amount of coins it takes to take a spin at them, but you have better odds of getting something really good, with the maximum being the 999 coin slot machine that you can do if you're able to max out your coin counter. In the game, there are 6 extra stages that you can only get by going through secret goals that are located in specific levels. There are multiple ways sometimes to get through a few of the levels, and unfortunately though, when you end up going through one of the secret goals, which is what we'll be doing here in this run of this level, we then have to start the level over again from the beginning and go through it again in order to get the regular exit. In order to get the first of the secret ones here, we're going to climb all the way up here and use the bunny hat in order to fly up to this pipe. This leads us to this small room that ends up having the secret exit door. Some of the secret exits have levels that are placed outside of the stages or worlds, and other ones have just secret paths that end up getting drawn inside the world, like the one that we have here. A lot of these bonus levels are relatively short and are kind of like abstract, and usually don't kind of go with whatever theme of the world that you're currently in. So they were probably just other stages that they were maybe going to put in another world, but ended up making it as bonus levels since they didn't come up with more worlds to put them in. Of course, that's all just a theory of playing through the game as many times as I have in my youth. Mario 2 on the Game Boy was easily one of my absolute favorite games. Probably played it just as much of this as I did with Mario Land or Wario Land, Super Mario Land 3. I think why I love this game so much, though, was that it felt very different from other Mario titles I was playing at the time, like Mario 3 or Super Mario World. You had some different power-ups and a few different enemies as well that only appear in this game as opposed to other ones. As we go through this level for a second time, going through the regular exit this time, we do go through the other path where we can actually kind of move up in these large piles of water or gel, and you can actually kind of float in it, swim in it, and this will allow us to get over and through a lot of the areas here, including the ability to kind of climb up to multiple levels. Now above us is where we ended up getting that secret exit, but instead we're going to head to the right here, and I'll show you one of the bonus games by hitting the bell at the end. For this bonus game, you have the crane, and you want to stop it, and it'll drop, of course, and grab whatever item is below it. You can end up missing items, though it's kind of difficult to do, and it's very, very, very easy to get 3 extra lives. When you head up the tree to the top, you can go to the left or to the right. Either level ends up leading to the boss level of this world, but you can complete them, of course, both if you're going for 100% like I am. This level is a pretty easy one if you have the bunny ears, but a little bit more difficult if you have to actually platform through a lot of these smaller jumps. Probably the most challenging level we've done thus far, at least in the platforming sense. In this ROM hack, Luigi moves faster than Mario, and because of that, you can actually chase down those bug enemies that end up running away from you when you get close. Mario normally wouldn't be able to catch them, but you can actually chase them down and jump on their heads if you wanted to as Luigi here. Now, after completing the level, we're instead gonna go back down and go to the B level in this stage right here. Now, this level always kind of creeped me out a little bit as a kid because of the bees. You have these normal-looking bees that are pretty angry that you're there, but then you have the skeleton bee, these guys right there, and for whatever reason, their little sprite ended up scaring me a little bit when I was a kid. These enemies right here are also a little bit weird, especially in their sprite. You gotta imagine also playing on a very small screen back in the day. It was a little bit harder to tell exactly what was going on as far as a lot of the enemies and the way they looked. Those big guys basically just work as thwomps though, crashing down a few seconds later, going back up, and you can easily bypass them. Watch out for the weird egg enemies that remind me very much of Dizzy from the Fantastic Adventures of Dizzy. I guess any egg with eyes and a mouth and all would remind me of Dizzy, but kind of weird enemy to have here. Now, the next level we're going to be completing is the first of the boss levels. Basically, the same as a normal stage, except at the end of it, you have to face off with that world's particular boss. If you're able to defeat him, you'll end up getting one of the 6 golden coins. Thankfully, there is a halfway point marker, just like all the other levels, so you can easily get back to the boss if you end up dying during the fight. Now, a lot of bosses in this game I will cheese, because they're just so easy to cheese. You have this bird enemy who's going to fly to the right side, and a few moments later he's going to squawk and fly on down to the left side. When he does this, we're going to jump on his head, and if we float in the air by jumping on his head and then let go of the bunny ears, we're able to easily land on him multiple times. Now, you can still do this even without the bunny ears. You can jump on them multiple times if you time it right, just a lot more difficult to do so. Also, all the bosses can be defeated by using the fireball. So if you have that, just launch a few fireballs at them and you'll instantly defeat the boss that way. Before heading directly to the next world, we're going to make a pit stop, stopping here in this level, just kind of a bonus level off to the side. I'm not sure really why this level was ever here, but this is a scrolling level, as you can see, so you have to be a little bit more diligent so you don't end up getting walked directly into enemies, or potentially getting crushed by the different boxes and platforms. This level is also really straightforward. You're just moving to the right. There's not a lot of hazards, just a few Goombas every so often, a couple of blocks. There really isn't much of a threat to you, even with the whole scrolling thing, other than it's gonna, of course, take a little bit of time. Overall, I think this ROM hack did a great job of not only utilizing Luigi, but especially the colors in a lot of levels. This level in particular really ends up looking nice with the waterfall kind of ocean in the background, along with all the clouds and trees. The level takes a little bit of time because of its scrolling nature, but eventually we make it to the end, and we're going to be moving up here to the very top of this platform where the giant statue of a hippo resides. Now, this level is another strange stage where you can get these bubbles, and you can use these bubbles to go all the way over to the far right side, and there's 2 exits, and the one exit will take you to the space world. It's the only one of the worlds in the game that's actually a little bit hidden, though I'm sure most gamers, because of the bubble, eventually would end up coming across it before too long. You can honestly just fly to the very top of the level and go over everything, but I want to at least show some of the stage and a few of the hazards along the way before hitting the goal at the end. Now, Space Zone only has 2 main stages, but it does contain a secret level as well, and that secret level is located actually in the first zone, so we're going to find that along the way here. The levels, both zones that are included, have 2 different playstyles. This one where we're able to kind of like go at our pace, and then there is a scrolling stage for the second level. Now, the gravity, as you notice, is very lax here, so we're able to fly very high up into the air, and in fact, we're going to use that to our advantage in just a few moments in order to climb up and get to where the secret exit is located. Once you make it over here to the halfway marker, just to the right of it, you'll be able to find a hidden block by jumping. You'll want to repeat this process multiple times until you make it to the very top. You then do a series of running jumps, which are very easy to do as Luigi here in this ROM hack, but even as Mario in the normal version of Super Mario Land 2, they are still very easy to complete. But you have to make sure that you're able to make it between all these jumps. At the very end of them, they go down to just a single block, so be very careful and cautious while making the jumps, and if you're able to do it, you'll make it to the secret exit here. Now, what happens? You have this cool star that comes flying in and then makes a quick U-turn and immediately crashes into the moon, who is not very happy that now there's a level floating and sticking out of its head. So that's the level we get to do here. This level is very similar in design and approach as the one we just did in Space Zone 1. Has a basic theme of kind of climbing upwards and then slowly working our way back down the large mountain before then making it to the exit. Very kind of simple stage. And then we're going to have to now go back to Space Zone 1 and do this level again, going through the real exit at the end. It takes a little bit to get used to the kind of laxed gravity here with these jumps. Especially in this ROM hack with Luigi, we get some major air, but this allows us to kind of like jump off of multiple enemies' heads in a row if you really want to do that. Be careful of this alien here. A lot of times when I'm making the jump up, I'll end up running into him. A few moments later, though, I end up running into a separate enemy that usually doesn't end up hitting me. Either way, that puts us right at the halfway marker, but instead of climbing up and working our way, we're gonna stay on the bottom level here, jump in between these spikes, making sure that you're able to fully get over them and clear them as you're bouncing from area to area. Be careful of the ship enemy here as you land on this platform, watching out for the spikes as well. I always like the little pyramid of moons right at the end of the stage. You can also destroy a couple of those blocks right above us. Those are ones that you can only actually destroy using the fireball ability, so keep that in mind. Space Zone 2 is a scrolling level, like I mentioned earlier, though the gravity is very different. Here we're able to kind of have no gravity. We're able to float up in space and do whatever we want. Basically, it gets to the level signifies that you are more in space than when you were on the moon just a second ago. There's a lot of stars that are stationary, ones that are lined up together, and then ones that are actually moving back and forth and up and down. Try to do your best to stay in a more open area. I usually like to stay relatively near the top unless the game kind of forces me to move on down. Here we can drop on down, we're going to get a fireball ability, which is always nice just to at least have an ability, even if it is the fireball, if you're looking for the bunny ears in particular. One thing funny is I just got one, and then I can immediately end up getting hit and get another fireball right after that, or fire flower right after that, before we end up making it to the end of this level, before we get to the boss. These enemies right here, they're kind of like a puffer fish in space. They're a little bit obnoxious, but you can only actually attack them using the fireballs when they're inflated, so keep that in mind. And they will hurt you when they are inflated if you're trying to get past them. After what'll seem like a very lengthy journey, we'll get a star power, we'll hit a halfway marker, or at least a save point marker. We're way past halfway point of the stage, but finally we make it to the end here, we can go inside the pipe, and now we're facing off with the boss of the Space Zone. Now this is actually the boss of Super Mario Land 1. An easier fight overall, but actually one of the more difficult ones I always found here. We're going to use the anti-gravity to kind of fake out his fireballs, and then he'll actually fly across the screen. Similar to what we did with the bird, we're going to do that exact same thing here, except use the gravity so you don't even need to have the bunny ears. And you can bounce off his head easily 3 times, defeating him, and we're moving on to the third world. Once we're done with the Space Zone, we're going to head on down from the Giant Hippo statue, head north here, and now we're going to go to Macro Zone. This is basically a giant house, and Mario, or in this case Luigi, is still his normal size. It's just that big of a place, so similar to the 4th world of Super Mario 3. Now right away, the very first level here is the one that contains the secret exit. In order to get it though, you do need to have the Fire Flower. You can get that in this level, though if you already have one going in, it'll just be easier. Just make sure once you have a Fire Flower that you hold onto it, you don't accidentally end up grabbing one of the carrots, or end up getting hit by one of the enemies, which can be a little bit difficult. Some of the ants can be a little bit harder to actually dodge. Be careful of the spikes above you, so you don't accidentally jump too high up and right directly into them. Even though we can hit the marker here, the bell, unfortunately it doesn't end up staying that way. Once we complete the level, even with the secret exit, the bell ends up resetting, so we have to beat all the level over from the beginning. Now, when you make it here, you can go 2 ways, either down here or above, which is actually where the secret exit and the normal exit is. This area looks like it would be a secret exit, but I figured I'd show it anyway, because it's kind of a little secret area itself. If you're able to get down here, you're able to find a couple of extra lives, as well as a fair amount of coins. So, if you're getting a little bit low on lives, be sure to stop on down here. You just have to have the Fire Flower as well to do it. Once we've done that now, we're going to work our way back over to the left. Watch out for the ants and ducking under the spikes. And directly above us, where those question mark blocks were and that ant is walking above us, we're actually going to find some hidden blocks. And we're going to use these hidden blocks to jump up and destroy these blocks that you have to destroy with the fireballs that are surrounding this pipe. Head on up, and this is where the secret exit is located for Macro Zone. Now the bonus level here is located up right above where we started off, and is another scrolling level. Pretty easy one for the most part. There is kind of one little tricky area about midway through the stage that we have to worry about. Just try to be careful, wait for the platform that you're about to jump to, make sure that it's appearing on the far right before you attempt to jump on over to it. Now, when you press down when jumping, you'll be able to do the spin jump. Now, we're going to use that to bust open all these blocks here quickly and drop on down. Now, if you're a small Mario or Luigi, you can just run underneath of it, or you can just do a running duck in order to get underneath that one wall, or if you're quick enough, you can bounce on down like I just did. You don't have a whole lot of a window though, so make sure you decide pretty much ahead of time which way you're going to end up going through that segment and commit to it so that you're able to make it through without getting squashed. Now, after completing that bonus level, it actually takes us right to the boss level of Macro Zone, but we're not going to go there yet. We're going to backtrack and head on back down to the first level where the ants were located, and now we're going to complete this level in the normal path. You could stop by and get those extra lives in that little bonus area if you want to do that again, but I won't need them, so I'm not going to have to worry about doing that. Be careful ducking underneath of this wall right here so you're able to get to the right. Wait a few moments on this platform before it ends up descending. You can then quickly run off of it. We're going to jump up, not going up the hidden blocks this time to where that secret exit was located, instead just continuing on over to the right. The level's really not that much longer, just make sure you're able to get over that last little bit of fire, and you'll complete the level. As this level begins, watch out for more ants. You'll also have some piranha plants that are going to stick out of the flower pots. So that's kind of a nice little combo of combining the macro thing with traditional Mario enemies. Get to the very end of the area, we're going to drop down the long pipe, which will take us into a little bit of an underwater area. There's not a ton of water levels throughout the course of the game, though there is a water-themed world we'll get to a little bit later on. Watch out for this piranha plant up here. We're going to then swim across, jumping up. You can get a question mark block over to the left there, but we're just going to swim on through using our firepower in order to destroy all the fish that are going to come our way. Stay in the water here. You don't have to jump up there unless you want to go after the items and deal with the enemy. Your main goal is going to be getting all the way over and going up this pipe. Once you're into the water, you can swim on around, swim upwards, head on over to the right side where one of those bugs will be waiting. Like I said, with the extra speed and jump, we're able to actually take him out, but either way, you can either go to the bottom exit or hit the bell, but we're moving on to the next level. As the next stage begins, there's actually a couple of Koopa Troopas and Goombas waiting for you, very traditional Mario enemies. A little bit ways in, you make it to these conveyor belts. As you can see, there's big arrows on them that push and pull you depending upon what direction the arrow is facing. And they do some nice coloring effects here with this DX hack, so you have the nice green and red buttons. This next segment, you can actually go through the pipes and go underneath all of the enemies, or you can take the above path. Either way, at the end, there's a pipe that you want to go up. You can hit the bell above you for the checkpoint marker, and then continue on in the level. As we continue on, watch out for a few of those bugs, as well as some fire pits that will end up killing you. Eventually, you'll go inside here, which is actually like the fireplace itself. You'll have to climb up, back and forth, jumping between the ledges. A little bit difficult to do, but thankfully, the momentum will help you get enough distance so that you'll be able to climb up properly. Going through the chimney on the far right side of the level, we now arrive at the boss stage for the second time, the official way you're supposed to go through the world. Either way, you can see the level starts off with a lot of books everywhere as a variety of different platforms. For defeating my 100th enemy during the course of this run so far, you're rewarded with getting an invincibility star, and you can just run through a large amount of enemies for a bit and easily beat some stages if you're able to get it in that level. Because of that, though, I'm able to run through most of this stage. There is some conveyor belt stuff going on at the end, so be careful of the Goombas as well as the spikes. Now, the boss for the Macro Zone we're going to destroy very quickly. It's a mouse that goes from pipe to pipe, and you just have to jump on top of him. But if we quickly hit him with just a couple of fireballs as he's running towards us, we instantly defeat him, and we're moving on to the next zone. Next up is one of the coolest zones in the game for sure, and that is the Pumpkin Zone, inside of a giant jack-o'-lantern, and of course a horror-themed world with some relatively spooky imagery going on here, including the walking mass skull things with a knife inside of them, and just some other hazards that are going on. There's some ghosts and other yokai monsters from Japanese lore that manifest themselves as Mario creatures during this world. The Pumpkin Zone is actually also the only world in the game that has multiple secret levels that are attached to it. When we were coming into Pumpkin Zone, you may have noticed outside of the pumpkin there were 2 extra levels that you could see placed there, and we have to find the secret exits in levels 2 and 3 of Pumpkin Zone in order to access them. Now for Pumpkin Zone 2, we're going to end up beating it the full normal way first, and then replay it for the secret exit. Of course, with any of these levels, you can do them in either order if you want to. We're going to start off by running along the rooftops. A lot of this level has a few paths, either an upper or a lower path through a lot of it, so you can decide which one ends up being easier, but only one time near the end does it end up really coming into play. We're going to swim up here, watching out for some fish along the way into these pipes. Now, you have to try to watch out for the boos. I run up here too quickly, and because of that, I end up running into the one boo near the top. Of course, when you're not looking at a boo, he will end up coming towards you. When you look at him, they stop, so you can use that, but sometimes it can be difficult with them off-screen to know exactly where they are. When we get out of this water area here, we're going to grab this power star above, and then run through all of these enemies, which takes us pretty much through the rest of the level and to the exit goal. In order to get to the secret exit, we actually need to go below where we just were a moment ago. We took that upper path to the power star, we're going to redo the level and take the bottom path there, and that's what's going to end up leading us to that secret exit. So, we once again go right back into the level. We're just going to go through it the same exact way, pretty much that we just did a few moments ago. Show a little bit of the bottom section here, so a little bit of a different area that we didn't see the first time. But very straightforward, of course, as we make our way. I always found it odd that the bell is right there. It feels like that's not really halfway through. I feel like bell should at least be after this little water segment. Over here to the right, we're going to try to get these boos to come down. Once we see that upper boo on the left there get far enough, we'll be able to climb up easily and get through these pipes. Once over here, we're just going to drop on down, make sure that we don't get hit by the tongues of the lantern yokai, and then drop on down to the water, swim across, deal with this fish, and drop on down this big opening. When you make it to the bottom, there's a tight area. If you have the fire flower, you can defeat the fish. It can be difficult to watch out for the spikes and not swim too high up. You have to be large Mario, though, so that you can do the spin jump and destroy the blocks over the pipe. If you're not that, unfortunately, you'll have to come back and try it again later. But this is how we find the secret exit here, the first secret exit of Pumpkin Zone. Now, over here to the right of Pumpkin Zone is a very easy, kind of straightforward level. We're going to grab the bunny ears, and this will actually help us out with the next secret exit that we need to get. Just going to drop on down. Now, you can keep flying over to the right if you want. There's a lot of coins in the air and a few enemies, but eventually you come to a wall. You then fall to the bottom area, and you'll have to run back to the left, where we just exited the stage a moment ago. So, unless you really just want to get a whole bunch of extra coins, there's no real sense in running through that entire area. Now, once back into Pumpkin Zone, we're going to continue on to the next level. This is another one that has a secret exit, and we're going to use the bunny hood, or bunny ears, to help us access that secret exit. Watch out for the Ghost Goomba while you're making your way through these series of platforms. You can use the bunny ears to kind of help you out, and we'll get over this bell and then into this area with all these spikes. As you can see, every so often they disappear into the background, so just kind of pay a little bit of attention, but you can float over a lot of it if you do have the bunny ears. And if you have them, you can fly across this giant gap, which will land us into this big opening, which is where the secret exit is. Now, this secret bonus level takes place up on the mushroom platform, similar to levels like 1-3 in the original Super Mario Bros. There's some Koopa Troopas, but for the most part, it's just some pretty straightforward platforming. If you have the bunny ears still with you from the level we just beat, since we got that secret exit, you'll be able to easily breeze through this stage. Be sure to grab the free 1-up right before the exit door, and once we complete the level, we're dropping right back into Pumpkin Zone. Now here we're going to take the normal path through this level, pretty much not much farther than where we just were when we got the secret exit. Watch out for these boos moving around these different winding path platforms. You can do these short jumps, or you can use your bunny ears to help you float across. Be careful on the last platform where that ghost Goomba is located. In this room is where the blocks will be disappearing, but thankfully there's so many of them, it's very hard actually to fall into the pit. It doesn't happen very often for me. Now here is where we ended up getting that secret exit, but we're gonna drop on down instead. The game gives you a big old hint that just above you is a secret exit since it has a big arrow and coins, but we're gonna hit the normal exit down below and move on to the next level. Now this level has a bunch of boos. You also have these giant cauldrons that are kind of floating in the air with the chains. They will sometimes have fire underneath of them, so be careful of them as we make it farther into the level. A couple of these broom enemies will be sweeping, but thankfully they kind of just go right up into the air, so you're able to easily run underneath of them. You'll then have to jump up to the very top of this platform just to watch out for all of the skeleton mask enemies coming your way. Jump on the tops of all of these towers so you don't fall down and have to go through the bottom area where the pipes are. As long as you're able to keep on top without falling into any of those areas, you're able to easily get to the boss. Now, the boss is a witch, which will appear on either the left or right side, and she'll throw down fire that will light the cauldron and send the top of the cauldron up towards the spikes above. Now, this is very easy to kind of jump over the flame, avoid the flame, and land on her 3 times to defeat her, and we get our next coin. Now, leaving the Pumpkin Zone and heading south, we're going to go into Mario Zone, which is a giant version of Mario. Now, each one of the levels are located in a body part of Mario, and there's no secret exits during Mario Zone. So Pumpkin Zone has 2 of them, but Mario Zone has none, so it kind of balances out in the end. This level has a lot of little spikes on the bottom level, but plenty of gear platforms that you can jump between during most of the stage. During this part here, you can either jump on top or fly across using the bunny ears, hitting the bell along the way for the checkpoint marker. For the next segment, we're going to stay on the upper path here, climbing up on the gears. When we jump on over to the right here, you'll float on down, or you can drop on down if you really want to, making it to the very bottom. It's a little bit difficult to hit the bell without getting hurt, but we'll reach the exit safely. Now this level is pretty infamous for me just because you're in the lower region of Mario and the level is filled with spherical objects, giant balls. The level is filled with balls and you're in the crotch of Mario. It's just a weird stage. I heard it's like also like a stomach or just his gut in general or whatever. Just a weird anomaly of a stage. Here you can climb on up the last area. We'll have one of the carrots. The last little segment here is a bunch of spikes lined up. You can jump on the teddy bears and ride across the bouncing balls or just kind of jump across, reaching the exit safely. From the ball level, we just go slightly above that. This level has a bunch of mushrooms in the background. Be careful of all of the spikes. Some of these giant cannonball-like things, when you jump on them, they will start to move along the chains that you can see in the background. Be careful on these conveyor belts, watching out for a few enemies, as well as potential giant missiles, giant bullet bills coming your way. Sometimes you may have to back up a little bit or wait a few moments for an enemy to pass before you end up continuing on. Now here you can use these claws to just pick you up and carry you over the little gaps, but much easier just to either take the upper path or just jump across the spikes. Now here at the end you can see this chain and you can ride on this cannonball up above here or bounce off of the bullet bill. Either way, get over the wall and reach the exit goal. The final level for the Mario Zone is located in Mario's brain. It's filled with giant Lego blocks. Nice colorization of having them be the red and blue. I think it's a nice little alternating thing that works well with this DX ROM hack. Lots of giant cannons that are going to try to shoot you down with the giant bullet bills or bonsai bills or whatever they're supposed to be here. Either way, we're going to climb up all of these Lego blocks to the very top level here. Watching out, there's one of those dogs that will shoot giant cannonballs out of its nose. Just past that is some giant buzzsaws, something that we see also, of course, in Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. Be careful of all of them as we run across this kind of like long, flat area with lots of hazards, but we make it to the boss. Now, this is arguably the toughest of the bosses outside of Wario. You have the 3 little pigs, each in their own individual house of wood, brick, and straw. And you have to jump on each one of their heads 3 times. Every other boss, it's jump on them 3 times and the boss is over. So in total, you have to land on them 9 times. And each one of the pigs has a slightly different pattern with their jumping, covering more distance and going a little bit slower. Always the 3rd pig gave me trouble. Maybe it was the smaller screen, the frame rate was just a little bit difficult to judge. But either way, when we land on all 3 of the pigs 9 times in total, we are moving on now to the next world. I always love the giant turtle in Turtle Zone that ends up swallowing you, which basically just works as a way to get inside. It's kind of weird, like, is the turtle living? I guess not, technically. I'm not really sure what's going on with it, but either way, we drop into the first zone. There's only a couple of zones here in the Turtle Zone, 3 in total, as well as a secret one that we find in level number 2. Now in this level, I'm going to start off by showing some of the underwater area and some of the hazards, before eventually kind of taking to the air a little bit with the bunny ears to kind of get through some of this a little bit quicker. You can cover a lot of distance in this ROM hack, especially with Luigi being able to quickly jump and get from platform to platform. Now the next level here, level 2 in Turtle Zone, is a bit of a maze. It's one of the slower, more difficult stages, one that I was never a fan of. This is probably my least favorite level in all of this game. It does have the secret exit as well that we have to keep an eye out for, but thankfully that's pretty easy to get. It's located right near the very beginning of the level, so we don't have to go that far at least. So we're going to swim all the way up here to the top, and then we have to make sure that we're small, so we're going to have to get hit twice to get to small Luigi in this case, and we're going to jump up here and then go through this pipe. Now, once in here, you have to be very careful, watching out for the giant sword-like blades that are coming down, as well as the spiky guys that move up and down. Thankfully, we can easily walk underneath this one here. Watch out for the blade. You can get underneath of the fish bones. Right after that, you have another blade and one of the giant shark enemies that's going to try to hit you, but then we make it to the secret exit. Now, this secret exit takes us out of Turtle Zone and actually behind to the lower right of the turtle on the main map. And for this level, it's a pretty straightforward one. We're going to end up getting a mushroom right away. Since we ended up losing all our power-ups in the previous stage, it's nice that we get them right away here. And then we're just kind of bust through a couple of sets of blocks, getting to this big open area where we get to collect a bunch of different coins. You'll get another power-up here with the fire flower, and as you can see, it's spelling out different things in the background with all of the coins that are set up. So just collect all these Mario Land coins, and then we'll come to the end of the level. The very end of it, we have to kind of fly across using the bunny ears that we get. Once we completed the level, though, we're going to drop back down into Turtle Zone and go back into level 2 here. Now we have to actually go through the long part of this level. We're going to start off by taking the exact same path that we just took a moment ago. In fact, going even up the giant thing right here, but instead of going to the left where the turtle was, the Koopa Troopa, and the secret exit, we're of course now going to go to the right. Drop on down into the water, watching out for the spiky enemies as you descend into the water. Here's one of those blades. If you're small, Mario or Luigi, you can just walk underneath of it, but if you are large, you'll have to swim quickly past them once they end up ascending. Quickly get out of the water, there's a few openings, and then watch out for all the Koopa Troopas as you climb up the staircase set of Once in here, you'll go through a series of pipes. This is a maze-filled little area that we have to deal with. Drop on down this opening. You can go either left or right. We're going to go to the right side here and once again drop down the pipe. Once you do that, jump over this little wall and go through another pipe. Basically, just keep on following the pipes around. Eventually, you will come to a little bit more of an open area. Watch out for the blade coming down here. You can jump over this platform. Unfortunately, if you're speeding as Luigi here a little bit, it ends up being a bit difficult to get past that last blade. But thankfully, that is the exit of the stage, and we move on to level 3 here in Turtle Zone, which of course is the boss level. It actually happens to take place inside of the giant whale. Now, if we're inside of the turtle, that's one thing. So is the whale inside the turtle, or is it just the whale underneath the water that ends up being, I guess, smaller? Maybe than the turtle? I still don't know how scale really works with these animals. Either way, we are definitely inside of the whale, and I think they did a really cool job in this game of showing off that whale with all the weird extra little things kind of hanging, dangling, and the pulsating floor, but there is plenty of extra teeth. A little bit odd that there is so many extra teeth inside of this whale, but we're going to try to watch out for the spiky points on them so that we don't end up getting hurt. Area is a little bit small, but usually pretty easy to kind of get across before you reach the pipe, which is the boss encounter here. Now, the boss is a octopus enemy that will kind of immediately float up into the air, and after he gets to the top of his ascent, he will spit out a little octopus, and then descend. And as soon as he starts descending, we'll be able to get on top of him. Just make sure that you're not floating too much close to him, because you'll end up getting hurt when his invulnerability runs out in between your hits. So be sure to get up enough so that you're able to safely land on his head. Once we've collected all 6 of the golden coins, the door opens up and you're able to take on Wario. Now, at any point, if you face off with Wario or you go through other levels looking for secrets, whatever, and you end up running out of lives, you don't have to beat the entire game again or anything, but you do have to beat each one of the bosses again and recollect all 6 of the coins. So, at minimum, you'll have to do 6 levels again, and then be able to go after Wario. Now, I didn't get quite 999 coins, but I will stop by the one for 200. But pretty much all the slot machines are the same, just different prizes that you're able to win. Now, once we played that once, it's now time to head to Wario's castle and take on Wario to complete the game. Now, Wario's Castle is a very difficult level, that's for sure. You have giant spiky balls of death, piranha plant statues that spit out fireballs, and plenty of instant death fire pits and other goodies for you to fall into. Now, the first level just is completely congested with the flying balls and fireballs going everywhere. You just have to really kind of take your time. It's a lot of repetition of learning this level. You play it enough as a kid, eventually you'll start to get it down, but even as an adult, there's some parts of the stage that are really difficult, especially in this non-DX version, playing as regular Mario. It's even harder because Mario's jumping is a little bit more precise, not quite as floaty as we see here with this ROM hack. Right here, you'll notice I do a couple of quick jumps and floats. This allows me to get over the buttons that would cause these fists to appear, which can be difficult to actually run past. We have a series of small little platforms that will disappear as soon as we land on them with lava. We're just going to quickly run and jump our way across that. Thankfully, the statue isn't on as we're coming through this segment like it was in the first area earlier on. When we make it above here, though, you have a bunch of these little platforms with little skulls on the end that will rise or fall, depending upon which one you're on. And you have to quickly kind of get across so you don't end up hitting the spikes, or land, of course, in the lava. Right after that, you have a whole bunch of these spiky, rotating columns of death. Just run quickly across through the next pipe. The next couple of rooms, you'll have to battle different Wario floating faces. You have to land on them multiple times in order to defeat them. Thankfully, it's relatively easy to kind of see where they're going to be bouncing and where they're going. It's actually like the same every single time you play the game, so eventually you can kind of get used to it. But once you've defeated all of them, you move on, and we're now at the actual final boss encounter against Wario. Thankfully, the game does give you a power-up, though, before you enter into that boss encounter. Now, for this fight, Wario is immediately going to crash into the ground, causing the thing above him to fall down. If it lands on you, of course, it will hurt you, as well as the ground shakes when Wario crashes down. All you need to do, though, is quickly jump on his head 3 times and he'll run off. The battle is broken up into 3 areas, with the second part having the bunny hood, or the bunny ears for him. He flies above you, going back and forth, eventually crashing down just like he did before. Just make sure that you're in the air when he does so. However, if you're quick about it, you can actually jump in the air and attack him as he's still descending. He may not actually fall and cause an earthquake or anything before you end up landing on him 3 times to defeat him. The third and final segment, though, is a little bit difficult. He has the fire flower, so he's going to throw some giant fireballs your way. Do some quick jumps, and if you're able to land on him 3 times before he ends up taking out all your health, Wario is defeated, and we get to sit back and enjoy the ending to Super Mario Land 2 DX for the Game Boy Color. So there you have it, Super Mario Land 2, this DX ROM hack. Mario Land 2 is one of my favorite Mario games ever. When I saw this ROM hack with the colorization as well as the playable Luigi, I thought it'd be at least an interesting run to re-explore this game, since it's been a very long time since I did my original video all those years back. But I absolutely adore this one, and if you're somebody who's actually watched that one, and now you're watching this one, be sure to let me know in the comments. Maybe that one's classic, I don't know, I can't really go back and watch my old videos, it drives me insane to kind of do that. But hopefully, both videos are still at least somewhat entertaining. I wish some of the elements, like the carrot, would have been in more of the later Mario games, but Mario Land 2 still does have quite a nice little legacy and a few things that are unique about it that will always end up making it stand out as a personal favorite. After the relatively lengthy credit sequence, we then get one last thing here with Mario Land 2. We have Mario and Wario here giving the thumbs up. But then we can go back to the title screen and start the game all over again. But with that, guys, going to wrap up this episode of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.